Is the new album from the Foo Fighters, But Here We Are, worth a listen and a fitting tribute to the late great Taylor Hawkins? Let's find out. Hey everybody, it's Nick here with you. Welcome back to the Rock Squad channel, and welcome to my rock album review for the brand new album from the Foo Fighters. It's called But Here We Are. Before we get to it, guys, if you love to rock out as much as we do and you love the Foo Fighters as much as we do here on the Rock Squad channel, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on future videos. Make sure to like this video. We'd appreciate that. And make sure to share this video online with your friends and fellow rock fans. But Here We Are is the 11th studio album from the Foo Fighters. It's follow-up to 2021's Medicine at Midnight, an album that I really enjoyed. And the Foo Fighters are one of my favorite bands of all time. Of course, this is the first studio album since The Color and the Shape not to feature the late, great Taylor Hawkins on drums. Of course, we lost Taylor in March of last year, one of the most tragic passings in all of rock and roll. We were all shocked by the death of Taylor Hawkins, and of course the band did their tribute shows to Taylor back in the fall of 2022. They did one in London and one in LA, which is a great way for us as fans and for the band to celebrate the life of Taylor Hawkins and celebrate the music that he made with the Foo Fighters. And of course there was a little bit of a period there where we were wondering if the Foo Fighters would continue on. You know, Taylor was more than just a drummer. He was an integral part of the Foo Fighters as a musical unit, for the aesthetic of the band, for the image of the band. He was such a huge part of everything the Foo Fighters did, and you know, we were wondering if they were going to continue on. Of course, now we know they're continuing on. They're back on the road. They just made this new album. We have Josh Freese as the new live drummer for the Foo Fighters, and I'm personally really glad that the band has continued on and are continuing to make music. And then now here we are. But here we are with this 11th studio album from the Foo Fighters, and Dave Grohl and the band are pouring all of their emotions, all of their grief, everything that they're feeling into this record. And it's not just grieving the loss of Taylor Hawkins. Dave Grohl's mom, Virginia, died last year as well, so this album is dedicated to both her and Taylor, and we're really glad that the Foo Fighters have continued on. Dave Grohl is playing drums on this album, which is great, because it's just fitting that he should be the one that plays drums on this new Foo Fighters album. And I'm happy to say that But Here We Are is a fantastic Foo Fighters record, and just record in general. Yeah, we knew going into listening to But Here We Are that this would be a heavy listen, an emotional listen, with Dave and the band basically using this album as musical therapy. And I'm glad they did, because what else are you going to do when you're a band like the Foo Fighters and you have such pivotal emotional moments happening in your life? Like, what are you going to do? You're going to put it into the music. These guys are musicians. These guys are songwriters, and they're going to put it in to the music, which is exactly what they should do. And although there is a lot of grief and there is a lot of emotional things on this album, there are some great emotional songs. This album also rocks. It's also catchy. It also continues the themes and the vibes of all the previous Foo Fighters albums. They know that this is an emotional listen, but it's also a thrilling listen. It's a powerful listen. It's an empowering listen, and it's just a really great record from front to back. So let me get into the songs from But Here We Are that I really liked, and maybe the songs that didn't really jump out to me as much. So here we go. First up, we have the first single that was released from this record called Rescued, and this song is incredible. I love the riff on this song. I love the emotion and the power in Dave's voice. It's a really great Foo Fighters single. I think a stronger Foo Fighters single to lead off this album than they did on Medicine at Midnight. I think Shame Shame was the first single that they released from that record, and that didn't really get me excited about that album, even though I liked it once I finally heard it. It didn't get me super excited about this, but this song Rescued, right from the get-go when I first heard it, got me pumped up about this new Foo Fighters record. It does have that emotional lyrics and those emotional vocals from Dave Grohl. You know, it's happening fast. You know, there's all the lyrics, you know, are you feeling what I'm feeling? Are you thinking what I'm thinking? And everybody collectively as Foo Fighters fans, like, yeah, we're with you, Dave, and we're feeling it with you. And this song is absolutely incredible. Yes, it's emotional, like I'm saying. It's talking about heavy things, but it rocks, and it's catchy, and it has all of those elements to it as well. So I think it's really just a great song and a great Foo Fighters single. And I love the riff. Learned it on guitar the other day, and I just love this new single from the Foo Fighters. Rescued is definitely a great song to kick off this record.
We're all free to some degree to dance under the lights. I'm just waiting to be rescued, to bring me back to life.
Then we get to the song Under You, which was also another single that was released from the Foo Fighters before the record came out. And it's funny, when I heard the song Under You, I'm like, what is that riff? The do 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 do. wondering what that riff is, and I was talking to my girlfriend Danielle, where both of us were racking our brains on what song it was, and then we finally figured it out, that the song, or at least that riff, is from Flavor of the Week by American Hi-Fi. It's essentially the same riff, except the Foo Fighters put a couple of extra notes on that riff, but that riff, she's just the flavor of the week. Not that I expect the Foo Fighters to be familiar with, you know, the discography of American Hi-Fi and Flavor of the Week, but that is definitely where that riff is from, and I've noticed that with a lot of songs lately. Like, I'm always like wondering, like, what does that sound like? But that is exactly what that sounds like, and I think this song is about Dave processing his feelings about Taylor Hawkins. There's songs about, you know, sharing songs and cigarettes. That's how I'll always picture you. I think that's, you know, definitely about Taylor Hawkins, but again, packaging it in a very catchy and poppy pop rock kind of package that continues to be a theme throughout this record. But aside from the riff that I know is from Flavor of the Week by American Hi-Fi, I really enjoyed Under You. Then we start getting into unfamiliar territory for this record, because we've heard Rescued before, we heard Under You before the release of this album. Then we get into one of the tracks that we didn't hear before the release of But Here We Are, and that is Hearing Voices. Now, this song is absolutely fantastic. Dave Grohl's voice on this record, his emotion, everything he's doing on this record is just top notch. I love the soft verse, the groovy vibe of the verse was really cool. Reminded me of the song Medicine at Midnight from that record, you know, the kind of that late night bluesy kind of vibe that they did on that. You know, the voices, you know, none of them are you. I keep hearing voices. None of them are you. That is a very heavy line, but I really think this is a great song. And then, you know, it's got a great melody from Dave Grohl. And the cool thing about Hearing Voices is that it's got a fade out on it. That's not something that you hear on a lot of songs these days. So I really enjoyed the fade out on this song. And Hearing Voices is just a fantastic track on this record. Then we get to the track called But Here We Are. This one reminds me of a track like Make It Right from Concrete and Gold. This album is produced by Greg Kurstin, who produced the last three, this Medicine at Midnight and Concrete and Gold, with the Foo Fighters. And his production can sometimes be a little bit harsh for me. I don't know what it is. Specifically on Concrete and Gold, his production can be a little bit harsh for me, but I really enjoyed the production on this album. It softened a little bit, so that was okay for me. I don't think this is the strongest song on the record, but it's still pretty cool. I love the chorus. A lot of these songs do have that epic nature vibe to them. I don't really think the thing I liked on this song was like Dave was like, oh, you know, that part I didn't really dig so much. But Here We Are. It's a decent song, but probably not my favorite song, even though it's the title track of this album. Then we get to a song in this record called The Glass. I really like this song. It has a different kind of melody on this track. It's hard to describe, but it didn't go where I expected it to, but the directions it did take me with the melody, I really like, you know, that left to live without it. I thought that was a great vocal line and a great melody from Dave Grohl. It's great to see him still branching out and doing different things melodic, melody-wise on these albums that I think is really cool. So even though he is processing these feelings about Taylor Hawkins and his mom, Virginia, he's still doing it in a very forward-thinking, artistic manner. I know a lot of people don't think of the Foo Fighters as being a very artistically forward-thinking band because they're just a great rock and roll band, a great hard rock band, but Dave Grohl is still growing as a songwriter and finding new things to do with his melodies. So I really like the song. Super emotional, and I love the lyrics on this. Left to live without it. You know, this is a heavy record. I know we're gonna keep saying it. It is a heavy record. There's a lot happening in terms of the lyrics on this album, but it's still packaged in a really great, catchy, melodic vibe, which I really dig. And then we get to a song called Nothing at All. Again, a lot of this album, in terms of its vibe and its feel, it reminds me a little bit of Concrete and Gold and a little bit of modern Medicine at Midnight. It's still very much a modern Foo Fighters record. You know, they're not really going to get back to the sound that they did on, you know, Color and the Shape or some of their past albums, but they do have that modern Foo Fighters sound. Concrete and Gold is not a record that I think is great. It's good. It's got some good songs on it. And Medicine at Midnight, I think, is the stronger record, but they bring it together, those elements of both those records into But Here We Are, and Nothing at All continues that vibe. Like I'm saying, a little bit of that late night Medicine at Midnight vibe that they did on that, a little bit of bluesy stuff here, you know, here and then like I really like the punchy drums that did on Nothing at All as well. It really kicks off in a cool way. Every song has a good intro. Every song has melodies that are going to take you through. And the thing about this record is I think it was strong all the way through. If you watched any of my previous reviews, you know that sometimes records tend to lose me towards the end, but this album kept me going all the way through. It's definitely catchy. It's dark. It's catchy. I loved it. Nothing at All is a great track, but Here We Are. Then we get to a song on this record which I think might be one of my favorite songs on But Here We Are, and that is Show Me How. This song has more of a chilled out kind of trippy vibe to it. The Foo Fighters, we know they've done hard rock in the past. That's one of the things they do very well, but they've always done things in a softer vein. The In Your Honor acoustic disc. This song in particular reminds me of Iron Rooster from the Saint Cecilia EP, and then it also reminds me of Chasing Birds from Medicine at Midnight. And some of the Foo Fighters do so well. They just know how to make such great chill tracks too. This song features Dave Grohl's daughter Violet duetting with her dad on this song. It sounds incredible, and it sounds like it's about the death of his mom, because where are you now? Who will show me how? I'll take care of everything. The lyrics in this song definitely reflects the loss of Dave Grohl's mom. But one of my favorite songs on the album, and as a Foo Fighters fan, a lifelong Foo Fighters fan, to be able to come into a new Foo Fighters album and have a song like this that really still just grabs you is incredible for any of us Foo Fighters fans who have been into the band for a very long time. I think it's one of my favorites on the album, and this is a song I'm going to keep listening to a ton this year, and that is Show Me How. Beyond Me is one of the most emotional songs on But Here We Are. This song, I don't know, it really got to me. Just listening to the lyrics on this album, it's beyond me. Dave Grohl putting all of his heart and soul into this song. The emotion on this song was incredible. Great guitar solo from Chris Shiflett on this album. Everybody's just really at the top of their games in terms of their instruments as well. Dave Grohl playing drums on this album, which I think is totally appropriate and makes sense for him to play drums. It's it's a Foo Fighters record, and and for now, I think the only people who should have ever played drums on Foo Fighters records are Dave Grohl and Taylor Hawkins. So we'll see where it goes from there. But Chris Shiflett putting in some amazing work as a guitar player. Pat Smear, I think he just adds a lot of muscle and a lot of oomph to the overall Foo Fighters sound. Nate Mendel is always doing a great thing with the bass, and then Rami Jaffe doing some great synths and keyboards throughout this whole record. So just a quick shout out to the entire band of the Foo Fighters for doing such a great job. And songs like this, Beyond Me, again mixing together those emotional elements and then putting in a guitar solo and something really cool, and offsetting that with a really cool musical element is something I really enjoyed. So Beyond Me, I think, was one of my favorite tracks on this album as well. Then we get to the longest song that the Foo Fighters have ever released in their discography. It's called The Teacher. I think the song is very much about Dave Grohl's mom and maybe Taylor Hawkins as well. Not actually one of my favorite songs on this record. I understand what the Foo Fighters are doing. They're trying to do an epic rock song, something that really grows and has a lot of dynamics in its 10-minute long runtime. But just the melody overall and the song in general didn't really jump out to me. It could be one of those songs that I get into a little bit further on down the line, but it didn't really do much for me. I didn't think the melody was really there. It's epic. It's definitely got everything it needs to be a 10-minute long song. I think I've said before, like, if you're going to have a song that long, you really need to make sure that it has its ebbs and flows and peaks and valleys and parts that are going to keep you interested for a 10-minute long song. I think they did that on this song, but just overall the melody and just the overall song didn't do much for me, even though I think it is a really cool effort from the Foo Fighters. Didn't really do too much for me on The Teacher. And then we cap off this record from the Foo Fighters, But Here We Are, with the final song called Rest. And this song is nakedly emotional from Dave Grohl. It reminds me of a couple of different songs. The first one being the song Home from Echo, Silence, Patience, and Grace, which was a piano-driven, kind of naked, emotional song that he did to cap off that album. But then it also really reminds me of Something in the Way by Nirvana. I think that Dave Grohl is channeling a little bit of Kurt Cobain on this song. It's a very emotional song to finish off the album, which is to be expected, because this is an album where the band are processing their feelings about the loss of Taylor Hawkins and Virginia Grohl. So it makes sense after all this bombast and all this loud rock music happening for the majority of the runtime to really just bring it down to earth and do a song where Dave Grohl really expresses what he's feeling. I love the understated solo on this song. I think it's a sobering end to the album. And I think this song reminds me a little bit, almost like another song reminds me of is the title track and the final track on Concrete and Gold. The way that this song has a little bit of a rocky, dirty vibe towards the end. It reminds me of that song, but it really is such an emotional end to this album, and really just a cap off to an incredible effort from the Foo Fighters. So I really enjoyed Rest as a final track But Here We Are. So those are my thoughts on the tracks on But Here We Are. You know, I think this is a great record from the Foo Fighters, a great emotional album from the band, processing their feelings about Taylor and Virginia. There's some fantastic melodies happening on here. So as a Foo Fighters fan, on their 11th studio album, we're still happy to hear that they have the hooks. Not every band can do that on their 11th studio album, to have songs that really stand up to their past discography, but I think the Foo Fighters have accomplished that on over here. But Here We Are, which I picked up on vinyl and CD yesterday. I think that's on par with Medicine at Midnight quality-wise. I think I've done a rock albums ranked here on the channel. I'll post that up here for you if you want to check that out. But for, you know, I don't think any Foo Fighters album, modern Foo Fighters album, would really, you know, surpass those first 3 or 4 records that they put out early in their career. But I do think it's on par with Medicine at Midnight. I think it's kind of, in terms of its sound, its overall sonic sound, and its overall themes, and just general vibe, it's a mix of Concrete and Gold, In Your Honor, and Medicine at Midnight, and all the best elements of those records, which I really think is cool. As I said before, I think Greg Kurstin's production can be a little bit harsh. It's really harsh on Concrete and Gold, just like a lot of the simple sounds and just a general overall mix and mastering on that. It got a little bit better on Medicine at Midnight. I feel like I got a little bit harsher again here on But Here We Are. There are some certain parts in this album where things just sound kind of like fuzzy or distorted, which might be what they're going for. But you know, Greg Kurstin's his production can kind of be iffy for me. I thought this was very therapeutic. You know, I thought Dave Grohl was on top form on his voice and his guitar and his drums. Really glad that Dave Grohl played drums on this album. And I think the biggest thing that strikes me about But Here We Are is that when people die, we've all experienced grief and death in our lives, and you know, I think the general feeling or the general impulse that you'll have when somebody passes away in your life is to retreat, right? You just want to like kind of withdraw from relationships and withdraw from society. And if you're a musician, you know, we've seen tons of tragic rock star deaths over the years, and a lot of bands have withdrawn and maybe just stop making music or that kind of thing, or tried different projects. But the Foo Fighters decided to take that grief and put it into the music, right? Which is what they want, what we want from the band. They're musicians, so it only makes sense that Dave Grohl would process these emotions and process this grief by doing a record. And I'm really glad that the Foo Fighters are continuing to go and made this album, because I think it's emotional, and I think it's catchy, and it's rocky, and it's got everything that you want from a Foo Fighters record. And I'm glad they're continuing on. I'm glad they're taking us on this journey with them. And I think there's a lot of great songs and a lot of great stuff happening here on But Here We Are. So I'm going to stop talking. I'm going to give the new album from Foo Fighters, But Here We Are, a solid 4 out of 5. And that is it, guys. That is my review for the new album from the Foo Fighters, But Here We Are. Let me know what you thought of the record in the comments below. Make sure to like this video. We'd appreciate that. And make sure to subscribe to us here on the Rock Squad channel so you don't miss it on future videos. This is a big weekend for new rock releases, so I have another couple of rock album reviews to film after this for the new Noel Gallagher's High Flying Birds album, Council Skies, and the new album from Bravo Sons called Dark Fighters. So stick around for all that happening on the channel this weekend. Make sure to follow us on social media at Rock Squad Pod on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Make sure to follow my band. If you love the Foo Fighters, you might like us as well. You can check us out at foolsunion.com. But we'll see you again in the next rock album review, which is coming up real soon for Noel Gallagher and Rival Sons. But until then, rock on, everybody.